days, I believe, after the assassination of 5 police officers in Dallas, Texas. It comes less than 2 weeks after an African-American man was killed in a confrontation with police. That man, Alton Sterling, and his death has prompted many protests from coast to coast. It also comes just a few days after police reported 3 individuals breaking into a pawn shop to try to steal guns for the purpose, allegedly, of killing police officers. Let me bring in Polo Sandoval right now, who joins us from Atlanta. And Polo, you spent time in Baton Rouge. Recently, you were there for the funeral of Alton Sterling. Tell us about the community. Tell us about how tense things are in Baton Rouge right now.
And Jake, you pointed out something very important here. It's still unknown whether or not there's a direct link between this tense climate that's being experienced by law enforcement and this shooting. But as we wait to hear more on that, it's important to point out that this community has been concerned. We were there, as you mentioned, for Alton Sterling's funeral, the man who was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police just closely, at least 2 weeks ago, rather. And we did see that there was this growing concern among the community for their law enforcement members. On Thursday, I spent some time at the Baton Rouge Police Department. As we were watching as people were dropping off really just small food and drink and shows of support, really, for the law enforcement officers. And before they left, all of them really made an effort to at least shake the hand of the officers and say, please be careful. So that, I think, speaks to that growing concern among the community for their police officers after this wave of protests that we've witnessed, which it's important to point out did remain relatively peaceful, but at the same time did add to the concern. So as we wait to hear more from officials on what exactly led up to the shooting that took place this morning, again, I can tell you that Baton Rouge is a community that has come together not only for law enforcement, but also for the community in general, particularly at the funeral of Alton Sterling, which I was at on Friday.
I am told that Marquise Gibson is joining us now on the phone. Marquise, tell us where you are and what you saw.
I'm at Walmart on Old Ham in the airline, and I was going outside, and as soon as I was going outside, I just hear shots fired everywhere. And then everyone just started running inside the building, and then everyone just standing in the back of the store. And then all of a sudden, about 10 minutes later, there's a chopper in the sky, a helicopter.
What we are being told, Marquise, is that at about 9 in the morning Central Time there in Baton Rouge, police officers were called to the scene. There was somebody on the highway, Airline Highway near Old Hammond Highway, and we're told now there were multiple shooters and 7 officers shot. We're told that the scene is contained but still active. Are you being told that you are able to leave where you are, or are you being told you have to stay where you are?
We're on lockdown at the moment. Everyone is in the back. We cannot leave. And even if we could leave, the police are blocking down the street. So everyone has to stay where we are.
Have you heard anything from any of the police officers or anyone in authority down there about why you're in a lockdown in that Walmart?
Not at the moment.
Did you see anything unusual when you were walking around today? Because there is this report that somebody with a gun was walking on Airline Highway near Old Hammond Highway, and now we're told 7 officers are down.
Only thing I seen was what I said, like the shots that I just heard. Then after everything happened, everyone was inside looking out the window, and police came out the blue, and I seen a police with an AK-47 in his hand, and other police ducking behind their car. That's all I seen.
How tense are things in Baton Rouge right now, from your perspective, whether related to the death of Alton Sterling or anything else?
It's just pretty tense. It's just pretty tense. That's all I can really say.
Do you feel as though there is support for your community by the police? And conversely, do you feel that the police are supported by your community?
It goes both ways, to be honest. I really can't talk too much because, like I said, we're on lockdown, and I'm really sneaking on the phone at the moment, and it's really like both ways.
All right, Marquise Gibson, we appreciate it. We hope you stay safe, and we hope that Baton Rouge enjoys some sort of peace sometime soon, although it's hard to imagine that happening right now, given these horrific events. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more of this developing story out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Baton Rouge Police Department is having a press conference right now. Let's listen.
That's why we're trying to get this message out as quickly as possible, asking the community to help us. We do believe it's more than one suspect. That's why I'm here giving you this information right now.
Any description on the suspects?
Not at this particular time. That's why we're asking if you see anybody suspicious in nature, if they're wearing army fatigue, if they're wearing all black, if they're wearing a mask, if they're wearing anything that's out there, please give us a call. I can't get into specifics right now. This particular suspect that's down, that's why we put in information out. If they're wearing all black, if they're wearing anything of army fatigue, anything that's suspicious in nature, if they're carrying long guns, rifles, handguns, if you have any cars in the area that don't belong, that's parked on the side of the road or the street, please give us a call, because we're actively working this scene. We're following up on information that we have. This information that I'm giving to you, we just got. That's why we are rushing to get this information out as quickly as possible.
Is there any indication that this morning's incident had anything?
We're not sure of anything right now. We're not sure of anything right now.
You mentioned
We're not sure of anything right now.
Corporal
All we
Mealy.
do know at this particular time is that there was a shooting. We believe is multiple suspects. One suspect is deceased. Multiple officers were shot. We do have some that have been killed. That's what I know for sure right now.
What's happening behind you? Is there anything still? We still have inactive any shooters?
We're securing the area with the deceased suspect. The suspect that has been killed. We're making sure there aren't any explosives in the area.
No other suspects.
So you mentioned
We're not 100% sure of that. We do know and believe that there are more than one suspect, so that's why we're reaching out to the community.
Where was the suspect killed? Would be explosives?
We don't know. We don't know. So we're taking every precaution necessary to make sure that all our lives are safe. So we're going to check the scene thoroughly and make sure that we do what we can to make sure not only us, but the citizens of Baton Rouge are safe.
did the officers engage with the suspect? Did he give any indication?
Officers did engage. There was no talking. It was shooting. So that's why we're working the scene.
So he didn't give you any indication that
We are working the scene. We're working the scene.
Is this a citywide search? Is this just local?
Believe right now is local because that's where the shooting happened. But we can't for sure say. So that's why we're putting the word out. Somebody might have saw something suspicious. They might know something, may know of guys that were plotting to do this. So that's why we're reaching out to the community and asking for help.
Repeat the location.
I don't have the exact address. It's over here at the Be Quick on Airline Highway.
It's outside?
We're not 100% sure. It's a combination of both. Shooting happened, believe, inside and outside the building. For sure, outside.
Suspect down outside?
One suspect is down in that area over there.
Suspect shot by police?
I believe so, yes. I believe so, but it's still an ongoing investigation. So I can't say we haven't reached his location. We are where he's at, but we're sending our robot in to check to make sure he doesn't have any explosives on him.
So he's not been taken away. He's still at the scene?
Oh, yeah, no, he's still there. So we're checking the scene with our robot to see if there are any explosives in the area and make sure there aren't any explosives on him. But he is dead.
As the investigation continues, what are the biggest priorities?
Well, it's safety for officers and safety for the community. After that, we're going to gather as much information as we can and work this case as best as we can so we can find all individuals that were involved in this.
Any description of the suspect is deceased, black, white, male?
We're not 100% sure. I don't want to give that information right now until we confirm.
Federal investigators involved?
Yeah, it's state, city, sheriff, the federal government is here. ATF is here. All agencies are here working with us.
What time did this happen?
I don't have an exact time. It was this morning. I got a call around 8:30, so it was around that time.
And where were the other multiple suspects last seen?
I can't give you that information right now other than this immediate area, so that's where we're working now.
How sickening is this?
Very sick. We're not going to get into that right now, y'all. That's all I have. So
Do we have any prior indications?
as soon as I get additional information on this, I will come back we will come back and give you what information we do have and what information we can release at this particular time. Thank you.
LG, thank you.
That was Corporal Elgene McNeely with the Baton Rouge Police Department.
You heard Gene McNeely there with the Baton Rouge Police Department giving the latest after this horrific shooting. He had just told us, confirmed the horrific news that 3 police officers have been killed in this incident. 3 were wounded. He said that 1 shooter is down, was shot by police, and that there are multiple suspects who remain at large. He asked for anyone in the community of Baton Rouge who sees anything unusual, and he described somebody wearing military fatigues. He described somebody dressed in all black, somebody looking as though they were part of this attack on police officers, that they call 911. Just a devastating news. You could see the emotion in the officer's in tone and what he had to say, understandably so, with 3 colleagues probably still lying there on the street, dead, killed in what the governor is referring to as an attack on all of us, not just on the police, but on all of us. Art Roderick is here with me, formerly of the U.S. Marshal Service, and he wouldn't go into the motivations of the shooters, Art, but this seems, with the way he was describing it, it sounds like he thinks this was a planned event, not a shootout. They were caught robbing a bank, that this was an event where they planned to go after police, from the way he described it.
This is the absolute worst case scenario. I mean, at least when we looked at Dallas, we had 1 deranged individual that went out and shot 5 police officers. Now we're hearing multiple subjects that committed this crime. Sounds to me like a straight up ambush of law enforcement officers. Now the critical part is, this is a conspiracy. We have 2 or more persons involved in this particular incident. Why? What is...
That's on looking like a ninja, baby. Nice little sniper rifle. He is military. I don't know who this man is. He's about to start popping again, baby.
If you're just joining us, we're covering this horrific attack on police officers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What we know at this hour is that 1 suspect down, multiple suspects wanted in the killing of 3 police officers, 3 law enforcement officers in Baton Rouge this morning. We have heard horrific accounts about what happened. The governor of Louisiana releasing a statement calling this an unspeakable and unjustified attack on all of us. It sounds from the information we have right now that multiple shooters were involved in this, that they were dressed in black, that this was a planned attack on law enforcement. A note of caution, at times like this, it is a breaking news situation. We are getting all sorts of conflicting information. Authorities are giving us the best information they have. As soon as they can share it with us, we are bringing it to you. But sometimes that information changes. But as of right now, the Baton Rouge Police Department saying 3 of their officers have been killed, 3 others injured, 1 shooter is down, multiple shooters are on the lam, are out there somewhere, and they're asking if anybody in Baton Rouge sees anything suspicious, please call 911 as soon as possible. I want to bring in former Sheriff Bob Reed of Cuyahoga County here in Ohio, where we are covering the Republican convention. And Sheriff, this is the nightmare of every man and woman who joins law enforcement, or...
Jake, thank you very much. Everyone, I'm Poppy Harlow in Cleveland. We are following the latest on this horrific breaking news out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana this morning. What we know at this hour: at least 3 police officers are dead. They were shot by at least 1 gunman. The gunman is described, as Jake said, as dressed in all black, wearing a mask, firing an assault rifle at these officers. This all took place this morning in Baton Rouge, right around 9 a.m. 3 officers have been killed. 6 officers in total were shot. We've just gotten an update from the hospital. Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center says they've received 5 patients. 3 of those patients are deceased. We know one is in critical condition, one is in fair condition at this hour. Again, this is a fluid, moving situation, a horrific police shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Police have confirmed that at least one suspect, the suspected shooter, is dead. Again, one suspect dead. However, there is a manhunt underway right now. They are looking for other suspects. And we heard the governor's statement saying perpetrators, plural, meaning they are looking for others involved with this, others that may be at large at this minute. Authorities are calling this scene active. They say it is contained but still active. We're talking about a shopping center location with a gas station and several stores nearby. That's where this all played out. A sheriff's department spokesperson says they're checking the area for possible explosives. One thing we also heard in the press conference held by police is that they've sent a robot into the scene where the suspected shooter went down. They sent a robot in there as well just to confirm that he is dead. One gunman dead. As I said, they're searching for others. Let's talk about the context of this, because this is very, very important. This comes less than 2 weeks after those 12 officers were ambushed in Dallas, killing 5, 7 more were injured. This also comes in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at the height of tension between some communities and police officers after the death of Alton Sterling at the hands of police. Nights and nights of protests, very peaceful protests, but tension has been high. I want to go to our Polo Sandoval, who was in Baton Rouge for many, many days covering all of this, just to talk about what it was like for you there and set the scene for us as this community is gripping with the fact that 3 officers have been murdered, 3 more wounded, and potentially other suspects on the lam.
Yeah, Poppy, just we were in Baton Rouge as early as this Friday covering the funeral of Alton Sterling, the man who was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police officers about a week and a half ago. And I can personally tell you, yes, there was this growing concern for law enforcement. While we were there, we spent some time at the Baton Rouge Police Department, and several times we saw members of the community actually come in asking these officers to please be careful as they continue to stay on the beat out there. And sadly now there are these grim numbers to report. At least 3 officers killed, at least 3 other wounded there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as the search for the possible suspects continues, with one of them confirmed dead there. Again, this is coming from information from authorities there on the ground that they are looking into the possibility that there could be other suspects involved. And so now there are 2 things that officials are asking for from the community, and that is for any information that could confirm those reports, and also for prayers. Plenty of them, especially as Americans across the country head to church this morning. I do want to read you a statement from Louisiana Governor John Bell, who basically echoed that statement there, asking for prayers. He also went on to said, quote, "This is an unspeakable and unjustified attack on all of us at a time when we need unity and healing. Rest assured, every resource available to the state of Louisiana will be used to ensure the perpetrators are swiftly brought to justice." Again, that's an indication that they could be searching for other suspects, Poppy.
But first, let me say this. My heart and prayers go out to those officers who lost their life in Louisiana today and those who are injured. It is a time that we as a nation really have to pray for their recovery, those that are injured. But equally important as well, too, it is very clear to see that we're in a very challenging time in American policing in this country. And I think with that being said, I need to note that at this very moment here in the nation capital of Washington, where I am, there's a national conference going on. The National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives were in a civil rights brunch when this news broke. And I can't tell you the hurt and the outrage that over 1,000 people in attendance to this conference today are suffering, along with many other people across the U.S. In addition to that, we had Louisiana officers in there who are from that department and neighboring department, and it's just really very sad for all of us right now.
Absolutely. Art, stay with me. I do want to read our viewers a statement we've just received from the White House. I'll read this to you in full. The president has been briefed on the shooting of police officers in Baton Rouge and asked to be updated throughout the day as more details become available. The White House has been in contact with local officials in Baton Rouge and offered any assistance necessary. Again, that statement just into us from the White House. And as I go to Tom Fuentes, our CNN law enforcement analyst, former FBI assistant director, I do want to give you a little more detail about what we know at this hour. We know that, according to authorities, there was a man walking down the highway, airline highway, with an assault rifle. They received a call. The authorities received a call of a suspicious person walking down the highway with the assault rifle. Police responded, and that is when the shooting took place. Tom Fuentes, to you, we know at this hour that there are other suspects. There is an active manhunt underway. Yes, one suspected shooter is down, but as we heard from the governor in his statement, he used the word perpetrators, believing that there are potentially multiple individuals involved in this. If you are the authorities on the ground right now, as you try to protect your officers, but also hunt down anyone else potentially involved, walk me through what is happening.
Well, I think, Poppy, the officers are going to be more concerned with finding these people than their own personal safety. So that's number one in this. They're going to want to get to the bottom of this, but they really need to identify the suspect that's been killed, and that may be difficult. If he doesn't have identification on him, or a cell phone or any other electronic or other identification, it may be very difficult to do that. And until they do that, it's going to make it hard to find who his partners were that were involved in. It's going to make it hard to find who his partners were that were involved in this crime. So they're going to have a very difficult time right now. And you do have a couple of murderers on the loose, and there's no other way around it. It's a dangerous situation for the people in that city of Baton Rouge, as well as the officers trying to hunt them down.
Tom, let's listen to a corporal with the Baton Rouge Police Department. He spoke just a few minutes ago. Listen to this with me.
That's why we're asking if you see anybody suspicious in nature, if they're wearing army fatigue, if they're wearing all black, if they're wearing a mask, if they're wearing anything that's out there, please give us a call.
So there you have it, Tom. He's asking on the public to help. You have the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office just coming out and saying they believe that 2 other individuals involved in this attack may still be at large. And as we know, the shooter was wearing all black and a mask. He's calling on the public to help identify anyone all in black or anyone in military fatigues. Tom.
Well, that description is what they looked like 3.5 hours ago when they attacked the police. So what they are wearing now, you know, can be entirely different with all this time. They could be out of state by now. So that's going to be difficult. They're going to have to use intelligence, information, either people in the community, anybody that can help the police. For example, if somebody saw people walking out of an apartment or driving down the street or gassing up their car wearing those outfits before the shooting, that would be extremely useful to the police. If there's any other description of those individuals getting into a vehicle where they could, you know, possibly identify the type of car, the license plate of the car, and then look for it on various security cameras that might be at highway intersections or in businesses. So that kind of investigative technique is probably what it's going to take to actually identify these people and get them in custody.
Okay, affiliates, this is not confirmed yet, but our affiliates are reporting that we may hear from the governor, Governor John Bel Edwards of the state of Louisiana, shortly. We're expected to hear from him in the next few hours. We will let you know as soon as we have that confirmed to us. Polo Sandoval, I want to go back to you because you spent time in Baton Rouge over the last 2 weeks reporting this out. Just about a week ago, 3 suspects came into focus in terms of their robbery of a pawn shop, stealing guns, because they were allegedly, according to authorities, believed to be planning an attack on police. 2 of those men were arrested, 1 still on the run. How does that play into this context here?
Well, you know, it's important to point out too, Poppy, is that at the time, officials believed that this was, in fact, in their own words, quote, a credible threat to authorities. That is, that these individuals had allegedly broken into a pawn shop to steal handguns that at least one of them claimed would later be used to target police officers. However, being on the ground, we did eventually learn that there was some information out there suggests that this could perhaps that these individuals may actually not have been planning to go through with this. However, that was enough to increase awareness and to increase police presence. In fact, we saw a major protest take place about 8 days ago on the streets of Baton Rouge, just outside of the police department on that airline avenue that we're now talking about again today. And we did see a significant police presence. Well, authorities later said that is why, because that they had this, quote, credible threat to worry about, in addition to yet another threat that they were following up on of an officer being followed. But again, they did not really offer a whole lot of information regarding that one. But while we continue to learn more about these possible threats or these possible plots, it is still fueling the concerns for law enforcement that they could be targeted amid this climate across the country, Poppy.
Paulo, thank you. Stay with me. And also, it's interesting to note that in the state of Louisiana, just as of the end of May, it is now officially a hate crime to target and kill a police officer, now officially a hate crime in Louisiana, according to new legislation just passed by the state there and signed by the governor. We're awaiting a press conference later this afternoon, potentially with Governor John Bel Edwards. Again, the headline here, 6 officers ambushed in a horrific attack this morning around 9 a.m. in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A man with an assault rifle walking down the side of a highway. Police called to respond. He opened fire, seemingly indiscriminately. 3 of those officers fighting for their life at this hour. Much more.